You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? It is Thursday, October 10. And here we go on the Full Court Press today. Bringing you the news of the day from here in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe. Yes, and here in Washington, it is now day 10 of the shutdown. Nothing's getting done, and we are 7 days away from the whole mess going over all of us, going over the cliff when Congress refuses to raise the debt ceiling, which it looks like is going to happen. Meanwhile, trying to get something going yesterday, President Obama summoned all members of the House Democratic Caucus, all 200 of them, down to the White House, met with them in the East Room of the White House. Today, he'll be meeting with all of the Senate Democrats in the State Dining Room, and then he'll be meeting with a delegation of House Republicans. He invited them all. They're only sending a delegation in the Roosevelt Room of the White House. Meanwhile, there are a few idiots in Congress, Republicans all, who are saying, hey, it's no problem if we don't raise the debt ceiling. As long as we pay the Chinese first, who cares? We'll pay their interest on the debt and let Social Security checks and Medicare checks and Medicaid checks and those people who depend on them just suffer. Such irresponsibility. The president also took time out yesterday to nominate Janet Yellen as the next head of the Fed. She has to be confirmed by the Senate. We'll tell you what's going on. Look forward to hearing from you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join us on Twitter. Give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. It is our town hall of the morning. Join in.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat?
show. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Great to see you today. On a Thursday, our second most favorite day of the week, because it's the day before Friday. We're here in our nation's capital. We're here on Capitol Hill. We're here in our little radio and TV factory. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station. Also, that radio show of ours and yours carried on Free Speech TV, which you can get on your satellite, DirecTV, or the Dish Network, and the streaming of the show, video stream of the show, live stream of the show on TawkrTV. Just go to youtube.com/TawkrTV, and you're there as long as you know how to spell Talker. Who doesn't? It's TAWKRTV. TawkrTV. Man, it's a rainy day in Washington, D.C., a gloomy day, a drizzly day, and that's sort of not only the weather, that's the politics of the moment where sides are still pretty well split. President Obama and the Democrats just saying very reasonably, hey, we'll negotiate anything. Just let's reopen the government and stop the suffering, stop the pain, let people get back to work, and then talk about where we want to go on the budget. Republicans are saying, no, we're not going to talk unless ahead of time you agree that you're going to dump, derail, defund, delay, or whatever the Affordable Care Act, trying to undo what they were unable to do in the Congress, in the Supreme Court, or at a national election. We got it covered from every angle this morning with our team here in place. Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey. Good morning.
Alicia Cruz is there, ready to take your phone calls. Already warming up this morning. And Cyprian Bolding keeps us looking good on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV with the video cams. Thank you all. Thank you, one and all.
Happy to be here.
Boy, yesterday... we left the studio, but the video and the audio kept rolling out all over the country yesterday. You may have been here when Congressman Bruce Braley from Iowa was in the studio, and we asked him about the House gym because there was a report yesterday morning that while the government is shut down, House members are not only still working and getting paid for working, but the House members are able to use their gym because their gym is open for business. And Congressman Braley said he thought that was a good thing because that way Republicans and Democrats had a place where they could talk. But it wasn't all easy peasy.
There's hardly anybody working down there. There's no towel service.
No towels.
No. And so we're doing our own laundry down there. And we pay a fee to belong to the House gym. So, this is no different than if you're working at an employer that offers a wellness program, you pay a fee to belong. That's what we do there.
What's the monthly at the House gym?
I don't know that the monthly is. We pay an annual fee every spring. I think it's about $260.
Yes, poor guy.
Yeah, right. I've got a word of advice for Republicans and Democrats in the House of Representatives. Shut down the damn gym. I mean,
Lord have
come
mercy,
on.
we have to wash our own towels.
Yeah, there are kids who are not getting food stamps. There are pregnant women who can't get their WIC products. There are kids being thrown out of Head Start. But members of Congress are in the gym.
We have to do our own laundry.
And they have to do their own laundry. Yeah, no. Come on, members. Optics. Remember, optics. It's all about optics, right?
There you go.
Jackie Speier, a Democratic member of Congress from California, will join us a little bit later in the program. Jim Tankersley from the Washington Post here, talk about the debt ceiling. And Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports here on the baseball playoffs and on a new documentary about NFL head injuries. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
On this Thursday, other headlines making news in sports. The Pittsburgh Pirates underdog story ended last night. The St. Louis Cardinals stamped their ticket into the National League Championship Series by beating the Bucks 6-1 for a 3-2 series win. They next face the LA Dodgers starting tomorrow as they have sights on a World Series championship that they last won 2 years ago. The ALDS comes to a close tonight as the Oakland Athletics host the Detroit Tigers for Game 5 of that series.
And they'll play the Red Sox, right? Whoever wins that game.
Whoever wins that game plays the Red Sox.
I got to tell you,
I'm
I'm sorry to see the Pirates lose. I really am.
Too.
They were the sweetheart team.
Yeah.
So now, no doubt, we all have to be Dodgers fans. We do not want the Cardinals to win.
I have to say,
we don't have an affiliate in St. Louis, do we?
No.
Screw them. Yeah.
I'm jumping firmly on the Dodgers bandwagon.
Yeah, good.
I'm jumping on the Dodgers bandwagon.
Yeah. K-Talk. 11:50. Yeah.
Starbucks has jumped onto the government shutdown helping out bandwagon. The coffee chain wants people to pay it forward during the shutdown. Anyone who comes in and buys someone else a cup of coffee will get one free for themselves. CEO Howard Schultz says he really hopes that lawmakers here in Washington will take the company up on its offer so they can come into Starbucks, buy a cup of coffee, sit down, and talk about the shutdown with their colleagues.
Starbucks has now turned into like the modern-day version of a hippie commune, man.
Yeah, I mean, but they have it a little backwards. If you buy one for somebody else, you get one free. No, it says if you buy one for yourself, then the other person gets one free.
The whole point is to do something nice for somebody.
Right, so you buy someone else a cup of coffee is the point.
All
and then they give one to you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were a lot of cranberries on Capitol Hill this week. The folks at Ocean Spray set up a massive...
I know. Go ahead. Yeah.
Everything all right?
What? Yeah, no, I used to like that band, the Cranberries.
Wow. Okay. They set up a massive cranberry harvest exhibit near Union Station here in Washington. It's a 12. Maybe if you let me.
All right, go ahead.
Finish the story. I would tell you that it's a bog.
Yes, America's newsman is in the middle of his broadcast bill.
It's a 1,200 square foot cranberry bog with 2,000 pounds of cranberries in it.
See, it's called a bog, Bill.
Got it.
Some area school children were even invited to wade into the bog, while farmers promoted the bog to members of Congress who looked at the bog.
Thank you, Walter Cronkite.
There you go.
All right.
Very serious business here.
Is it gone? I never.
I believe yesterday was the last. Today's Thursday. Yes, yesterday it was here Sunday,
and I kind of wanted to see it, but I just haven't been at Union Station.
It was here Sunday through last night,
and I was not going to make a special trip to wade in the bog.
Yeah, they took the bog away.
All right. So here we go. The latest on the shutdown. Now, look, I want to. You know how sometimes you're watching the news and they say we want to advise you that the video you're about to see, contains some chilling scenes. You may want to look away or something like this. So I want to warn you ahead of time that what I'm about to say will probably piss you off and will probably upset you, and that it's what I'm going to say nobody else will say, okay? But I want to say it anyway. I think it's a big mistake to pay the death benefits to the families of members of the military who were killed in Afghanistan and whose bodies are being brought back to Dover Air Force Base and were not going to get their benefits because of the government shutdown. You know the story. It's about $10,000 per family, which is always given to those who've been killed in action. Our brave men and women over there put their lives on the line, lost their lives, come home. Families, many of them can't afford to give them a decent farewell, and the government always takes care of that. Now that whole program was shut down as part of the government shutdown. But here's the deal. The Pentagon had been warned had warned Congress. Congress had been warned ahead of time that this program would be shut down, had to be shut down as part of what Congress passed. Republicans didn't listen. Republicans did it anyway. And then once they realized what they had done, they started blaming it, raising hell about it, blaming it on President Obama, and saying again, we had to make an exception for that, just like we had to make an exception for air traffic controllers We had to make an exception for the World War II memorial. Now they had to make an exception, and they did. Every member of Congress, Republican and Democrat, voted to make an exception for these military families, and so they could get their death benefits. And Jay Carney said yesterday, President Obama himself, when he heard about this, was really pissed off, and he just told his people to fix it.
The president was very disturbed to learn of this problem, and he directed the Department of Defense to work with the Office of Management and Budget and his lawyers to develop a possible solution.
And Jay Carney told us yesterday at our briefing that there would be a fix as of yesterday. And in fact, there was as of yesterday. And the fix occurred because of the help of this great foundation, Peter.
Fisher House.
The Fisher House. I visited the Fisher House here in Bethesda. They do incredible work at all of our, not all of them yet, but many, many, many of our veterans hospitals around the world. They have these, they build, create, establish these homes, beautiful homes nearby, where members of military families can live as long as they want, get their meals there and everything, while their loved ones are undergoing treatment and coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan in these military hospitals. So the Fisher House stepped up to the plate. They are going to pay these benefits until the government reopens, and then the Pentagon will reimburse the Fisher House once it has the funds to do so. So the whole thing is fixed. The whole thing is fixed without an act of Congress. But I keep coming back to, here is another example of what I've been talking about. The government does some great things, okay? This is one of the great things the government does. When you shut down the government, right, a lot of great things are not going to get done. And why should we make an exception for those that just happen to pop up, and get a lot of media attention? So we fixed that problem. The New Yorker magazine, this is the latest edition I have here. Let me give you some other examples. The Center for Disease Control told Congress it's going to have to stop its seasonal flu prevention program. Hey, they're not reopening that. Why not? Isn't that important? Think of all those millions of Americans more susceptible now to the flu right now. The WIC program provides healthy food supplements for millions of pregnant women, new mothers, and babies. Hey, we're not doing anything about that. No, we're giving these families their death benefit, not doing anything about those pregnant mothers and babies, right? The Occupational Health Safety and Health Administration stopping most of its inspections of the workplace. Think of all those possible safety violations. The Food and Drug Administration not going to be able to support its food safety or nutrition activities. National Institutes of Health canceling new patients for new cancer clinical trials. There's a lot of important stuff that's not going on. So if something pops up, no matter how good it is, we make an exception for it. You know what? Then it's easier for the shutdown to continue and continue and continue and continue. And General Shinseki yesterday, it's not just these, other military programs are not being refunded. Here's General Shinseki yesterday testifying before the Senate Armed Services Committee about other programs in the military that are impacted.
A good portion of them, as I indicated, who are 100% disabled. And amongst them, there will be survivors, surviving spouses, children orphaned by the death of their service member or veteran parent.
All those benefits gone, at least gone for the moment. Nobody's talking about them. Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont told us how much money we're talking about.
VA will not be able to pay an average of $6.25 billion in monthly compensation, pensions, education, and vocational rehabilitation benefits. That is an unimaginable disaster.
So all those people we don't care about. But we have carved out one more exception now for the families of our fallen in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're going to get their $10,000 death benefits. And I'm not saying that's not important. I think it's outrageous that they're not getting that money. But what I think is a big mistake to make exception after exception after exception. If that had been my vote, I would have said, vote no. Vote no. reopen the entire government. You cannot do it piecemeal. As long as we do, we're going to be in this shutdown forever. Death benefits for military families? I vote no. 866-55-PRESS. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. I dare you.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, at least you can say I'm consistent. I said during the sequester it was a mistake to carve out an exception for the air traffic controllers and the TSA. And that's one of the reasons we're still in the sequester, and I think it's a mistake every time somebody raises something. Oh no, that's shut down. Oh, let's put them back in business. Yeah, every time that happens, it's just one more argument for letting the shutdown just roll on and on and on, and all these other important things that the government has done usually does not getting done because we're allowing Republicans to do it piece by piece by piece, and Democrats go along with it. I don't care how important it is. Howard is out in Los Angeles on K-Talk 1150. Hey, Howard, what do you say?
Oh, I want to say this, Bill. I'm not mad at you. I understand that's a cold thing. You know, I'm a vet myself, and that'd be a cold thing.
Yeah.
They bury me, you know, and you just can't keep this going on and on. How low can Congress go? You know, this suckers and surely pays in public.
Well, you know, they don't give a damn about the public, Howard. That's the problem. I mean, the American people are overwhelmingly want the government to reopen. But I think they can go on as long as they want, but it's going to go on longer as long as we keep carving out these little exceptions here and there.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. But we got to take a stand. I think somebody commented in one of the news programs about maybe Obama got to call it bluff. I had to call it bluff. I'm sorry. We just had to call it bluff. And I hope this thing will open up America's eyes what's really what's happening, so all the people that's not informed will be informed and say, wait, we got to do something.
I hope so, Howard. I hope you're right. I just think that, unfortunately, the American people don't seem to be worked up enough about it. And every time they get worked up over something, again, they pass they fix it. No, you can't fix it one by one. Raji is calling from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Glad to see you.
Thank
back
you.
On TV. You're right, and this is the same Republican Congress that I can remember back in '06 that wanted to privatize VA.
Yes,
this is the same Republican Congress that just wanted to privatize everything, and with the debt showdown, this is a way for them to shut down Social Security, shut down all the programs that seniors have come to rely upon, and they can pick and choose for optics to do whatever they want.
Absolutely, Raji, and I'm glad you got into that. We're going to talk more about the debt ceiling coming up because that's the next body blow. Social Security checks are going out for now, but a week from now, they're going to stop too.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing done, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Hey, let's make it 34 minutes after the hour. I'm making the argument that Congress made a big mistake. The president made a big mistake in responding to these cries of outrage over the fact that families of the fallen in Iraq and Afghanistan are not getting their $10,000 death benefit, which the Pentagon usually pays to military families. Yes, that's outrageous. Yes, it's important. Yes, they deserve that money. But here again, you can't just make an exception for every little shocking case that comes up about the good things the government does. To me, it gets back to, and I want to hear from you on this, 866-55-PRESS. I just think it's a big mistake. It's just like last week I opposed opening up the World War II memorial. All right, fine. You know, these are the greatest generation. They come in their wheelchairs and everything, and they're turned away. That's what a government shutdown is all about. And if you don't feel the damn government shutdown, the shutdown is just going to continue. And while we're at it, why is it more important to open the World War II memorial but keep the Vietnam memorial closed? There are more Vietnam veterans alive today. They deserve to see their memorial as well as the World War II veterans. You see, it's crazy. What's important to one group, you know, is not important to another group, but government does a lot of important stuff. Open the whole damn government back up. That's my position, Peter.
You got it. We are on Twitter at BP Show. I think you've made it very, very clear. Okay. Yes, indeed. And people are responding on Twitter at BP Show. You can join in this conversation at BP Show on Twitter. Kevin Grussing says it's divide and conquer. They're pitting program against program in order to continue the shutdown with less constituent anger.
Exactly.
Don says
the president falls into that trap every time.
Sure.
And so does the Democrat. Every member of Congress voted last week, for example, to give federal employees their back pay. We're paying them to stay home and not work, right? Every member, I would have voted no. Every member of Congress voted to give these military families their $10,000 death benefit. I would have voted no.
Don says, Bill, you're 100% right. If the government is shut down, shut the whole thing down. No one should get anything until the government gets their crap together. There's another comment there.
I mean, as far as that would be, for me, even the military, I said that. The military in Afghanistan would have to lay down their arms and tell the Al-Qaeda, we'll be back whenever the government starts paying us again. We'll come back.
And one final comment from Fred says, more teabag voters know a disabled veteran than they know a kid with cancer. Today's reality government for the few, of the few, by the few. You can join in this conversation we're having on Twitter at BP Show.
I'm glad to hear those comments. It means
good stuff there. Yeah,
I'm not totally crazy. Well, 866-55-PRESS toll free number. Don is up in Bedford, Mass. Hey, Don.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Hi.
Hey, I managed to save my marriage by getting my wife to see you on her computer.
Oh, great. All right. TawkrTV.
See, Bill is good for so many things.
Glad to help out there, Don.
I agree with you 100% on this. And also, when that business came up about retroactive pay for congressional staff, I was just furious. And I said to myself, are they going to give retroactive education to the Head Start children that haven't been able to go to school?
Excellent question.
Down the list. How can they do that? It's just it's a coward's way out.
Yeah, and how about retroactive health to the cancer patients who are not going to get cared for, right, at NIH?
Medical for the people that are suffering from salmonella right now in many states because the FDA is not in there. There are just so many instances of that.
I know, and so the longer we keep going, Don, you make a good point. The longer we keep going by just paying attention to those cases that are outrageous enough to get the media's attention and to get on Fox News and to make their way all the way up into the White House briefing, will we make exceptions for those? No. I mean, I really do believe, you've heard me say this, I think the president is absolutely right in this case. Republicans caused this government shutdown. They're the ones responsible. And I think for the president to say, we will negotiate on all these other issues you want to. I heard him say yesterday, I was there at the White House. He said he'll talk to anybody, anytime, on any topic, but just open the government first. That's the right stand. Open the government first. Open the whole government first. You don't bring back this program and leave everything else shut down, and then a couple of days later say, all right, we'll bring back this one too, and then leave all the rest shut down. Reopen the entire government, because the government... Anybody else will say this? I will. The government is good. We are the government. The government does a lot of good things, important things. It does some dumb things, so get rid of the dumb things. It does a lot of good stuff. Karen in Elburn, Illinois. Hi, Karen.
Hi. I know you were talking about privatization of Social Security before. That's all I have to rely on. My husband's really old. I don't want the GOP in charge of that, or the TPT, the Tea Party terrorists.
Yeah.
And if they get offended thinking it's degrading to be called names, like Tea Party terrorists, we can change it to Tea Party treasonous. That's better. They're lucky Americans don't demand they be shot for treason. It's bad.
But Karen, I want to talk to you, just mention the Social Security, and we'll talk about this more at the top of the next hour. Because if we default on our debts, right, which is the next hurdle here, Social Security checks are not going to go out. And Republicans are now saying, well, we won't have enough money to pay everything, but we'll have enough money to pay interest on the debt, meaning we'll have enough money to pay the Chinese government, right? But we won't have enough money for Social Security checks.
Does the GOP have to privatize everything to make money off of it so they can keep the money?
Well, I actually, They're talking about worse than privatizing Social Security. So privatizing Social Security is absolutely an idiotic idea. And by the way, it's kind of disappeared. When the crash, this was George Bush's baby. And with the crash of September 2008, you haven't heard many people talk about privatization of Social Security anymore. But if we default on our debts, it's not going to be privatization. It's going to be the end of Social Security. The end of it. No Social Security checks will go out. And again, Republicans are saying, that's all right. We have to prioritize. And the first priority is pay the interest on the debt. Who owns the debt? Most of it, the Chinese government. Kevin is out in Chicago. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
All right, good. What do you think?
Hey, to me, this is just another continuation of the Republicans, nonstop effort going back to Reagan to prove that, government can't do anything right. Think back, what was this thing? Government's not the answer, it's the problem or whatever, This is just another continuing thing. The thing with the affordable health care is, they realize that if this thing kicks in, and it's not going to be perfect at first, but, it's going to get tweaked, it's going to work. And it's going to be an example of another thing that government can do, just like Social Security, just like Medicare. And once their idiotic bunch of sheeple that follow them realize, sooner or later, especially the poor down south that have no brains, that this can actually work, they're done, okay? And it goes against their fundamental belief, government can't do anything and shouldn't be doing anything, okay, especially when it comes to regulations of the businesses and all this other stuff, okay? And let's face it, government, while they do some things that we all tend to disagree with, overall, because, again, we are the government, okay? We the people. Go back to the Constitution. We the people, okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely right, Kevin. You make a lot of sense. You make a lot of good points there. And the difference is this. Reagan used that kind of rhetoric, and other Republicans use that rhetoric. Government is not the solution. Government is the problem. But they still went along and made some deals and kept government going and tried to trim here, try there, but not to shut it down. The difference is today with these Tea Party people, they hate government. They want to shut the government down, not to make it work better. They want to end it. They want to shut it down, and they are in charge. That's the scary part. And so let me point out, the Tea Party's got about 80 seats in the United States Congress. Okay? Don't worry about extremists on the left. How many seats does Occupy Wall Street have in the United States Congress? 0! And yet, 80 seats for these Yahoo extremist right-wingers. That is pretty scary. And they're running the show because John Boehner is a coward. No spine, no backbone, no balls.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Nominee to head the Fed, the new head of the Fed, or Fed head as they're calling it, in Janet Yellen. President Obama saying we got the right person for the job.
She'll be the first woman to lead the Fed in its 100-year history. And I know a lot of Americans, men and women, thank you for not only your example and your excellence, but also being a role model for a lot of folks out there.
Jim Tankersley is the economic policy correspondent for the Washington Post, joining us on our news line this morning. Jim, this is an historic appointment, right?
It is, absolutely. Janet Yellen, first female head of the Fed, but by the way, maybe the most qualified head of the Fed ever. So not exactly like an affirmative action pick here.
Yeah, no, good point. I have heard that said without putting down Alan Greenspan or Ben Bernanke, right? I mean, she's been in and involved with the Fed and federal banking her entire career, right? Tell us about that. I mean,
Well, she's a really accomplished academic economist, which is often what you really want for someone who heads monetary policy. But she's also worked in monetary policy. She led the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. She's been Ben Bernanke's right-hand woman as the vice chair of the Fed. She spent a lot of time in these really trying times for monetary policy, right in the thick of things.
I read that she met her husband in the cafeteria of the Fed. I mean, it's sort of like the Fed family, huh?
Right, yeah, and her husband is a pretty accomplished economist himself. So there's pretty good advice just hanging around, the homestead for her, too.
I mean, just as an aside, when you had a candidate like that, it just does make you wonder why the hell President Obama was flirting with Larry Summers for so long.
Well, I think the answer to that is that the president really, really is comfortable with Larry Summers and likes him, and that Larry Summers is a very smart guy, and the president really believed in his ability to lead the Fed also. But with Janet Yellen, I don't think he knew her very well. They don't seem to have had much of a personal relationship, and as is so much often the case in Washington, personal relationships are really important.
Boy, absolutely. Well said. So what can we expect in terms of monetary policy from Janet Yellen?
I don't think you're going to see much different from Ben Bernanke for quite some time right now, and that in itself is news, because there's been this expectation that the Fed would start pulling back on this monetary stimulus program it's been embarked on for a lot of reasons, including Yellen's inclinations. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon.
Well, there's a story circulating this morning that when she and her husband first hired a babysitter in Berkeley, right? And by the way, anybody comes from Berkeley, they got my vote, right? So, and I'm a little biased, but that when they first hired a babysitter, that they didn't pay the minimum wage, or try to get a babysitter cheap as they decided the more they paid the babysitter, the better a babysitter they were going to get, which people are saying that this sort of sums up her approach to the whole work-labor policy.
Yeah, I think that was from the great profile of her that Binya Applebaum did in the New York Times. And I think, though, that you see that reflected in a lot of different ways. When I sat down with Yellen last year for a big magazine
That's right,
story,
you did your big story, right.
Yeah, she was really adamant on the Fed's need and the importance of helping people get jobs and to get the economy back to full employment. And she talked a lot about how that would help savers, the people who tend to worry about interest rates. That, look, if you're a senior citizen with money in the bank, it's not going to do you any good if your grown-up kids are coming home to live with you because they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting way and important way of looking into how she sees policy.
Can I ask you, Jim, how is the market reacting, and how do you think Wall Street will react? How's it reacting, first of all, to the shutdown, and what can we expect if, in fact, we let the October 17 deadline go by without raising the debt ceiling?
Well, right now, there's so much going on that the market is reacting in some ways, not reacting in others. There's still, I think, a baked-in assumption that Washington's going to pull this out. But if we get close to the witching hour, I would guess you start to see much more of a reaction, that you'll see stocks start to go down, you'll see more interest rate spikes as people start to worry about treasuries. And if we breach it, if we default, this idea that that's not going to be a big deal, I just don't see any evidence for that.
I don't see anybody saying that either, except some members of Congress who are not necessarily the people that I would turn to for long-term economic advice. But anyhow.
I think anyone who builds their portfolio around advice from anyone in Congress is probably in trouble, Bill.
You got it. All right, Jim. Well, it's going to be very interesting to watch Janet Yellen at the Fed, particularly if we are dealing with a continuing shutdown or debts or default or whatever. Hey, Jim, excellent work at the Post. Thanks so much for joining us again this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
Jim Tankersley is the economic policy correspondent for the Washington Post. We'll talk more about these yahoos who say, no, not raising the debt ceiling is no problem, at the top of the next hour here on The Bill Press Show this Thursday morning.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dog, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, at the top of the next hour, we're going to talk about debt ceiling, and then we'll be joined by Congresswoman Jackie Speier from California. Meanwhile, a new poll is out today. Americans ask, this is on Huffington Post, your opinion of the Republican Party. 28% of Americans, a new low, 28% of Americans have a favorable opinion of the Republican Party. By the way, Democrats, 43%. I mean, that's not like something to write home about, but 43 is a lot better than 28.
Yeah,
Republican
for sure.
Party down 10 points since the shutdown started.
Wow.
I think Americans are getting it. They know who's responsible.
Yeah, things are bad here. They're even worse in Azerbaijan. Yesterday, they had their presidential election. Their incumbent president, Ilham Aliyev, was running for re-election, and he has sort of taken over the voting system in past years. They knew it was going to be dirty. They knew it wasn't going to be fair. They didn't realize it was going to be this unfair. They released the election results a full day before the election even started. They accidentally released the results, showing him winning with 73% of the vote a day before people started voting. So I think it might have been rigged.
Was that Chicago?
No, I'm sorry. Yes.
No.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I have a friend who left for Azerbaijan on Saturday. She's
there
there now.
Maybe she voted.
This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? It is Thursday, October 10. And here we go on the Full Court Press today, bringing you the news of the day from here in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe. Yes, and here in Washington, it is now day 10 of the shutdown. Nothing's getting done, and we are 7 days away from the whole mess going, or all of us, going over the cliff when Congress refuses to raise the debt ceiling, which it looks like is going to happen. Meanwhile, Trying to get something going yesterday, President Obama summoned all members of the House Democratic Caucus, all 200 of them, down to the White House, met with them in the East Room of the White House. Today, he'll be meeting with all of the Senate Democrats in the State Dining Room, and then he'll be meeting with a delegation of House Republicans. He invited them all. They're only sending a delegation in the Roosevelt Room of the White House. Meanwhile, there are a few idiots in Congress, Republicans all, who are saying, hey, it's no problem if we don't raise a debt ceiling. As long as we pay the Chinese first, who cares? We'll pay their interest on the debt and let Social Security checks and Medicare checks and Medicaid checks and those people who depend on them just suffer. Such irresponsibility. The president also took time out yesterday to nominate Janet Yellen as the next head of the Fed. She has to be confirmed by the Senate. We'll tell you what's going on. Look forward to hearing from you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join us on Twitter. Give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. It is our town hall of the morning. Join in.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go. At 6 minutes after the hour, good morning, everybody. President Obama naming Janet Yellen yesterday to head the Fed, the first woman to do so, and the most experienced person, most qualified person ever to head the Federal Reserve. Good morning. Good to see you this morning, and welcome. Welcome to the Bill Press Show on a Thursday, October 10. Great to see you today. Hope you're ready to tackle the news of the day. We're still mired in the shutdown. 10 days into the shutdown now, and just 1 week away from the brink, 1 week away from going over the cliff with the Congress's refusal to raise the debt ceiling, which looks more and more likely. The United States defaulting on its debts and its obligations. We'll bring you all the latest on that and get you involved in the conversation any way you want, by phone at 866-55-PRESS, online at Twitter, at BP Show, on Twitter, at BP Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Good to see you today. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the team. You're part of the team, as well as Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz standing by to take your phone calls. A lot of phone calls so far today. A lot of people very upset about the shutdown. It's really hitting home and keeping us looking good on the video stream and on Free Speech TV, Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. And, of course, we are first and foremost here on your local progressive talk radio station all around the country. Also shown that radio show. You can watch the radio, if you will, on Free Speech TV and online at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Well, people are turning everywhere for advice now and insights and opinion about the government shutdown and what we ought to do while the government is shut down. Rapper Nelly had some interesting ideas on VH1 yesterday. Basically, he's
where
saying,
we go for our news.
This
right?
Where, well, I think he makes more sense than most members of Congress. So, his basic point is, if they shut down the government, then we should not have to pay taxes.
I hope they never do, because I'm trying to campaign, since the government ain't working, we shouldn't have to pay taxes, because, paying taxes is supposed to pay for the government, which in turn is not working. So if they're not working, I shouldn't have to pay taxes. And me being in the upper echelon of the tax bracket, feel that the money that I could be saving over these next couple of days could be very vital to my survival.
There it is.
That's how I feel about it.
He's in the upper
So
echelon.
y'all keep banging.
Y'all keep banging. Keep banging. But you know what? There's a certain logic to that, right? If the government
absolutely.
No, if the government shut down, why should we be paying taxes?
Yeah. We have Congresswoman Jackie Speier in just a little while. We'll play that clip for her and see if she has a response.
You reopen the government, and I'll pay my taxes. I mean, that's the way maybe to get some attention here.
Yeah, you keep banging.
You keep banging. All right. Yes, Congresswoman Jackie Speier is coming in at the half from California. And at the top of the next hour, Travis Waldron in the upper echelon. Travis Waldron will be here from Think Progress Sports to bring us up to date on all the latest in the baseball playoffs. Let's talk about, thanks to Nelly, talk about the debt ceiling and some voices in Congress who are saying some pretty crazy things about it. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Check of other news headlines on this Thursday morning. Michelle Bachmann apparently received a bunch of phone calls from concerned constituents this week after Miley Cyrus portrayed her in a sexually provocative music video skit on NBC's Saturday Night Live last weekend. According to The Hill, the Minnesota Republican told talk show host Rusty Humphries that people thought it was actually her on SNL, and they were worried about it. She said she was flattered at 57 to be confused with a 20-year-old and doesn't take offense at the SNL skit, saying it's clearly all done in good fun.
Oh, God, I'm so over Michelle Bachmann. can't wait for her just to disappear.
She also said she's never twerked before, which I don't know if I believe
no,
that.
really?
Yeah. I don't know if I believe that.
You think she twerks?
I'm sure she might have twerked once or twice.
Tried it in her office?
Everybody's tried it, right?
Ask Marcus.
Am I the only one?
Ask Marcus.
Oh, Marcus twerks.
Michelle and
You know what
Jim
I'm
Bob
talking
Duggar are now trying for their 20th child. The reality show parents of 19 say they hope to be blessed with another one, but Michelle at 47 is not pregnant yet. CBS News reports she says she's in good health because she exercises and eats right, is hoping for the best. She did have a miscarriage 2 years ago. Their TLC show, 19 Kids and Counting, continues to be on the air following the lives of them and their children, which go from 3 years old up to 25, and now they have 3 grandchildren, and every child's name, all 19 of them, begins with a J.
They're going to run out. I mean, there are not 20 names that start with a J.
Yeah, they're going to run out of names. They got to get creative.
I'm just going to let that pass without a comment. I'm sorry. I would be too
The
mean.
Los Angeles Times is taking a stand against climate deniers. According to Salon, the paper's letters editor says they are no longer publishing letters to the editor that are not based on fact. Anyone who writes in about climate change warnings being a hoax or climate change not being caused by humans are guaranteed to go right into the trash can and will never be published. In his letter, editor Paul Thornton spelled out the differences between opinions and factual inaccuracies, which he says will simply not be printed.
You know what? Good for the LA Times, and that's a great segue into the debt ceiling. Thank you, Dan.
Oh.
Because it's hard to believe what some people believe, okay? I mean, there are a million opinions out there, but some people believe some crazy stuff. Like people who believe that global warming is a hoax. All right? I mean, nuts. Why do you think all those glaciers are disappearing? Why do you think all the polar ice is disappearing? Why do you think the sea level is already rising? I mean, go on and on and on and on. Right? There are people who still believe that we never landed on the moon. There are people who still believe that George Bush and Dick Cheney ordered planes to fly into the World Trade Center to make a point, whatever the point was. There are still people who believe that Barack Obama was not born in the United States. There are still probably people who believe that the earth is flat. And to add to those today, you have to add there are people in the United States Congress who believe that not raising the debt ceiling, that allowing the United States to default on our debts would be okay. There would be no big economic consequences either here in this country or around the globe. They are certifiably insane, but they are out there and they are elected officials and they are impacting public policy. By the way, and these are all Republicans, and they are contradicted, certainly, by many, many people who are normally lined up with the Republicans. I mean, among those who say that not raising the debt ceiling would be catastrophic include the United States Chamber of Commerce, gave all of its money last year to Republicans. United States Chamber, and always do. The United States Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, the the National Association of Manufacturers, the American Banking Association. President Frank Keating of the ABA is testifying in front of the Senate today saying we cannot let this happen. This would be bad for business, bad for the economy. The leaders of every major Wall Street bank and financial institution down here in Washington said the same thing last time. And as they point out, raising the debt ceiling does not mean spending any more money. It's not any new spending at all. All it means is that we are going to pay our bills, and we're going to allow Treasury to float enough bonds to continue to pay our obligations. In other words, to pay for the stuff that Congress has already spent. And to not raise the debt ceiling means, very, very simply, we can all understand this if you put it in these terms. It's like we go out on a big spending binge. We take our credit card, or 5 credit cards, whatever. We max them all out and buy all this stuff that we want. which is what Congress has done. And then when the bills come, we say, we're not going to pay them. That's exactly, and you know what would happen to your credit rating if that happened? Boom. That's what will happen to the United States if we allow that to happen. Every business organization, every economist says that, but except for, not the economists, but the voices who say just the opposite are now Republicans in Congress, several of whom are saying, this is just a scare tactic. This is no big deal. We can do this and survive. Richard Burris, Republican, senator from North Carolina. Rand Paul, Republican, senator from Kentucky. And the worst may be this guy, Ted Yoho. Yeah, that's his name, Yoho, from Florida. All right, here's what gets me. He's a Republican from Florida. He's a Tea Party Republican. He has never held public office before. And he says something crazy like, oh, we'll have enough money to pay the debt holders at any rate, so what are we worried about? Ted Yoho, I've got this site up here I was just looking at. Business Insider awarded him with the #1 stupidest comment of the year because he said, I think we need to have that moment where we realize we're going broke. I think personally it would bring stability to the world markets since they would be assured that the United States had moved decisively to curb its debt. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Remember, this guy last year was still a large animal veterinarian, right? Dealing with cows and horses, fine. But why trust him on the world's economy? Why follow the advice of this idiot who doesn't know anything about monetary policy or fiscal policy or economic policy? But there he is, representing I don't know what district down in Florida. And again, on the other side, the rational voices, Andrew Ross Sorkin, who's a leading economist on CNBC Business Network, said last night, I saw him on ABC, and he said, I'm quoting almost exactly, that every major country and every major bank out there owns U.S. Treasuries. And the moment they realize that we may not pay our obligations, the moment that we realize we may not be good on our debts would result, he says, in a global crisis of confidence. And to these idiots like Rand Paul, and in this case he is an idiot, I've supported him on other issues, or Richard Burris, or Ted Yoho. Look at these numbers. I picked these up. The Treasury Department released these. They were reported again on ABC last night. So we'll have, just add this up, $30 billion in the bank, October 17. Okay, that's the brink. Let's say we do not raise the debt ceiling. Treasury has no more money. On October 23rd, there's a $12 billion bill coming up for $12 billion for Social Security. On October 31, Halloween, $6 billion due interest on the debt. The next day, November 1, $67 billion due for Social Security, the disabled, payments on Medicare to the military, and to retirees. Now, the way I added up, we're already in pretty bad shape. There are already a lot of bills that we're not going to be able to pay. So what these Republicans are saying is we prioritize. We pay those who own the treasuries first and pay the interest on the debt, and then with what's left over, if any, we just pay whatever we can, but we're not going to be able to pay everything. So we're technically not in default. Well, number one, if you don't pay all your bills, you are in default. But number two, you know what that means, right? If we pay the interest on the debt first, who are we paying first? Who are we saying is the most important people to pay? The Chinese government. They're the ones that own most of our debt. So they're saying it's more important to pay the Chinese government the interest we owe them than to pay Social Security checks, than to take care of Americans disabled, than to take care of our veterans and our military, than to pay for Medicaid or Medicare. More important to pay the Chinese government first. That's what these Republicans are saying, and anybody who listens to them is as big an idiot as they are. Talk about it. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour, Congresswoman Jackie Speier from California joining us in the next segment here, the next half hour of the program. Your calls on the debt ceiling, but first, Peter, a big news flash.
Breaking news, yeah, we've been getting all week updates from the Nobel Prize Committee and talking about who's won. We've had science and things like that. Today we have literature. The winner for the Nobel Prize in Literature is Canadian author Alice Munro. Alice Munro wins the Nobel Prize for Literature. She's 82 years old, and she's won for her collection of short stories. This is great, I think. So the Nobel Committee, the Academy, tried to call her to let her know that she's won. They can't get a hold of her. They've left her a phone message, but she's probably still asleep on her farm in Canada.
But I don't know. Or she is streaming online. So, Alice,
good morning.
Thank you for watching, and congratulations. You have won. On the debt ceiling, some Republicans in Congress saying this is no big deal. For the first time in history, we cannot raise the debt ceiling, and they say there won't be any economic consequences. Lou in Davenport, Florida. Hi, Lou.
Hey, morning, Bill.
Good morning.
You and your crew there. Listen, if these Republicans like Coburn and Yoho are saying, no big deal, and everything like that, I say, well, if we do default, and it sure is kind of looking that way, and they say, you got to prioritize. Well, you got to be like Michael Corleone from Godfather 2. Nothing, And I'm not going to let my people starve. I'm going to pay my people, and China can go suck an egg, and they can try. And I say this tongue in cheek, Bill.
Yeah,
they can try to use their new military muscle, and they'll say, "Hey, we're forced this way. Go after Coburn and Yoho. I got to pay my people here that are really hurting. You'll get paid later, but that's the way it is."
Well, you can just see that the kind of conflicts like that and ridiculous scenarios like that. By the way, and the headline in the New York Times business section, first page today, government standoff shakes trust in U.S. debt. So already people are starting to say, no, we're not sure we're going to buy any treasuries because what's going to happen a week from now? Coral is in Palm Springs, Florida. Hey, Coral, good morning.
No, California, Palm Springs, California.
Oh, damn it, I'm sorry. Of course, Palm Springs, California. Hi, Carl,
okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay. You said that was one of your favorite places.
It
Palm
is.
Springs,
I love
California.
Palm Springs. Go fast.
Anyway, well, you and I have a date. Anyway, what I was going to say is, and I'll make it quick, Social Security, I don't think so. Social Security is not government money, Bill. Does anybody remember that? It's my money. It's your money. We fed into that since we were 12. Well, I did since I was 12.
Carl, I
And
just want to jump in. You are right. It is our money, but the fact is the government writes the checks. And if we default on our obligations, there'll be nobody in the government to write those Social Security checks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Ron Delano at
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, you bet it is. 33 minutes after the hour now. The Bill Press Show on a Thursday, October 10. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital. We are brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, the good men and women of the AFT. Teachers proudly in our classrooms, making a difference every day. You bet, under President Randy Weingarten. We salute them, thank them for their support. You can find out more about their good work at aft.org. Just down the street, Congress still wrestling with the shutdown. We are now into day 10. President Obama summoning the Democratic members of Congress down to the East Room of the White House yesterday afternoon to talk of plans about how we might get out of it. There with her colleagues was Congresswoman Jackie Speier from California, here in studio with us this morning. Congresswoman, nice to see you.
Great to be with you.
Representing the great San Francisco Peninsula.
That's right.
Right. How was that meeting with the president yesterday?
It was very good. He was very resolute.
Was it sort of a Q&A? Did you have a chance
Q&A.
to? Uh-huh.
He spoke for about, I'd say 10 minutes, and then it was all Q&A. And he was, very clear about being not giving away the store, which is, kind of been an issue in the past, and yet still recognizing a need to find some kind of solution here. So I think the short-term increase in the debt limit is probably for sure, and possibly opening up government again. But it's let's be clear, it's probably only for 6 to 8 weeks while parties negotiate for this grand bargain. That's what they're.
Are you surprised that the shutdown has dragged on already now for 10 days?
No, not at all. I mean, you have to remember who's in the Republican Party today. I mean, these are not mainstream Republicans that are calling the shots. And look how their message has morphed from repealing Obamacare to now we're talking about grand bargain entitlements and the like. So
they're almost not talking about Obamacare anymore.
Right. No, they're not.
They're trying to figure out, why do we do this now? We shut it down. Well, why? Now what do we do?
Cruz was running the Republican caucus in the House.
Speaker Cruz.
Speaker Cruz, right.
Yeah. As Congressman Bruce Braley said yesterday, he was there when they elected the Speaker of the House, and he doesn't remember Ted Cruz getting any votes. Nor do you.
No.
I'm sure. So the president has said, we are willing to talk about anything, sit down and negotiate anything, just open the government first. Is that the right stand, do you think?
Oh, absolutely, it's the right stand. I mean, otherwise we're going to lurch forward and take one step forward and 3 steps back on virtually everything. I mean, it is affecting the markets. It is affecting everyday lives of American people. I mean, when you've got to rush a bill through so that families who've just lost loved ones can be flown to Dover to receive the remains of their loved ones. I mean, come on. And this is a first-rate country. This is the most powerful country in the world. No, absolutely. We've got to reopen the government.
New York Times reports this morning, it's calling it a crack in the Democratic Party, that 26 House Democrats today are joining with this group called No Labels, saying we support negotiating starting right now. You don't have to reopen the government, but just start negotiating right now.
I don't think it's a crack. No, I'm not one of them, and I don't think it's a crack, really. I think if you look at the list, it's probably all freshman members who are in marginal districts that are playing to their audience, which is understandable.
So you mentioned the debt limit. I want to go with it. So this is the next hurdle, right? A week from now, there are members of Congress, Rand Paul, Richard Burris in the Senate, Ted Yoho in the House, and probably others in the House, I'm not sure. I know there are others in the House, who say, well, what's the big deal? You know, we can let this deadline pass, and then we'll just, if we don't have enough money to pay everything, we'll just pay what we can. We'll prioritize.
They are certifiable. They are truly certifiable. I mean, there is no question. You could speak to any economist in this country or across the continent of Europe who will tell you that this undermines everything that this country is about. We cannot not increase the debt limit. And it would be catastrophic.
That's what, and by the way, just to add to what you said, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, the National Association of Manufacturers, the American Banking Association, their president, Frank Keating, is testifying today. You can go down the list of every major business organization is saying the very same thing. Warning, don't let this happen.
Well, you know, remember...
And the Republicans, who are supposedly, right, the party of business, they're not listening.
Yeah, they're tone deaf. But what's interesting is this is so reminiscent of 2008 when TARP was being considered and it was rejected. And you remember that the market dropped 700 points in like a matter of minutes. And then we came back the next day and we passed it with some rational folks on both sides of the aisle. But it is, they're playing with fire. And this is what happens when you get extremists on any side. You get behavior that is so reckless and so irresponsible that it really can cost us enormous.
You know, on that point, one of these business leaders, in an article I read in the Times this morning, pointed out, it said the problem is that they're extremists in both parties, and we Democrats can admit that. But the difference is that the Republican extremists are running the show, right? There are 80, this again, a business leader pointed out. We talk about extremists in both parties, but there are like maybe 80 extremist Tea Party members in the House of Representatives. How many seats in the Congress does Occupy Wall Street have? Right?
Zero.
But the Republicans are there, and even though they're the minority, they're in charge. Yeah.
And it's not, they're the minority of the they're the minority of the majority, and they're in charge. That's what's so
right.
It's significant. And look at the leadership of Nancy Pelosi and John Boehner. I mean, no equivalency at all. We had the Blue Dogs during the reign of Speaker Pelosi, but they didn't run the show.
Mm-hmm.
And yet that's what's happening on the Republican side.
Do you have any doubt if let's do a little math here, right? If Speaker Boehner were to allow the full House, which you would think would be automatic, that one man could not stop this, but the full House to vote on a clean resolution, would it pass?
Absolutely. I did a floor speech yesterday where I asked the speaker to let his people go. Let your people
Isn't
vote.
That ironic? Yeah, let your people vote. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's easily 23.
By the way, the last floor speech that I remember you giving, where you brought the caviar and the champagne.
No, it was vodka and caviar, because we had members who traveled to Russia and were getting, $160 to $200 a day in terms of money, not out of their pocket, but to pay for food. And one went to Argentina, so I had a steak on the floor as well.
We were kind of hoping you were going to bring us breakfast this morning.
Well,
some steak and caviar and champagne.
There's a funny story about this. I had a silver-plated platter to bring all this in, and I was stopped by the parliamentarian who said that we don't allow exhibitions on the floor. And I said, so what does that mean? He says, well, you can't take that silver platter on the floor. You can take all that stuff, but you can't take the silver platter.
But the point was that they were cutting out kids on
the food stamps. I mean, $4.50 a day. You're taking $4.50 a day out of the mouths of kids in this country, and yet you're dining on $160 to $200 a day because you're traveling around the world.
Now, the issue of the day, Congresswoman, about the shutdown that has been getting the most attention is that it came to the public's attention yesterday that Congress is here and members of Congress are still getting paid during the shutdown. And members of Congress can work out in the House gym. Should the gym be open?
The gym should be closed and rekeyed so they can't use their little pass key to get in. What people don't appreciate is that there are more than, I think, 50 members of the House that live in their offices. Their staff has to deal with the fact that their member is changing clothes in his or her office.
And
they're
it
mostly
smells
men.
like dirty socks.
And they
dirty
use
underwear.
And can you imagine? You wake up in the morning in your office and you go down to the gym to shower and shave and get ready for the day. I think that's one of the quickest ways to get a resolution to this issue, because people sitting around them aren't going to be able to take it very much longer.
Good.
And they're not going to be able to take it very much
That's
longer.
another good reason for shutting down the gym. I'm curious, does every member's office have a private bathroom?
Every member's office does have a very small little bathroom to use, right? With a sink and a toilet.
So they don't have to trundle down the hall if they have to pee at night or something.
No, they can't.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too graphic, but I wonder how rough it is. Well, they ought to close those private bathrooms too. While we're at it. Close the gym, shut down the gym.
Absolutely.
All right.
But rekey it, because they can still get in.
That's important. Rekey it. Congresswoman Jackie Speier here from California, 866-55-PRESS. We got the shutdown, we got the debt ceiling coming up, and Republicans still dug in their heels. Your questions, your comments, always welcome. Join us here on The Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, it's not all shutdown. It's not all debt ceiling. There's some very exciting baseball playoffs going on, and we're going to talk about that at the top of the next hour here on The Bill Press Show. But right now, this important stuff of how we get out of this little sort of deadlock we seem to be in Congress. Congresswoman Jackie Speier from California here in the studio with us. So, Congresswoman, there's never been a worse example, I guess, of deadlock or, gridlock, or whatever you want to call it. Gridlock, thank you. Here in the Congress. What's it like on the Hill these days? I mean, are people talking to each other even?
It's very tense. It's tense. People are exhausted. And it's ironic because you're not doing a lot. And
yeah.
And
which is more exhausting than having a productive, important, busy schedule. Right?
And tempers flare easily. We had a hearing yesterday in Oversight and Government Reform, and Darrell Issa brought forward the woman who was working at the IRS, who is Ingram is her name, who has just a sterling record, over 30 years. Received an award under George Bush, and
they treated her like, whatever.
And so, it's very easy for people to kind of fly off the handle very easily now, which doesn't help in negotiations either. So, the coolness of the president is actually very helpful in circumstances like this, I think.
But you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to pick up on that it looks like there will be a short-term extension of the debt ceiling. And the president has said, we definitely think it ought to be maybe at least for a year, so we don't have to do this every 3 weeks or so. But he said if it is a short-term, if that's what Congress does, then we'll accept that and we'll start negotiations. But what good does it do to just not raise the debt ceiling for 3 weeks, for example, or a week or a month? We don't escape the
stranglehold.
Crisis,
That's correct.
No.
But the president did say yesterday that he wanted to make it very clear that it's non-negotiable, that it can go for if we want to do it for 6 weeks, that's fine. But he is not going to be in a position where the debt ceiling is not raised, and he is not going to negotiate on the debt ceiling. So if they want 6 weeks to kind of allow them to have a win and to work on some kind of resolution on issues that they think must be addressed, he's happy to do that. He's happy to negotiate. My big concern, frankly, is that he's already negotiated maybe, and he was just kind of laying the groundwork yesterday when he met with the House Democrats. And I fear that one of the elements, which he has already signaled historically, is chained CPI. And that would be so catastrophic to those on Social Security and Medicare, because the chain CPI, as we all know, is that breadbasket that takes in products that you then can look at substitutes, where people will go to the grocery store. If something's more expensive, they'll substitute something less expensive. And so that's what chain CPI is. But for seniors, there's nothing in there about medical costs. There's nothing in there about pharmaceutical costs. So it's not a real cost of living adjustment for seniors who bear the brunt of so many healthcare costs.
I'm surprised that there is not more public outrage and public reaction. Why aren't there 10,000 people on the mall every day protesting this government shutdown? What do you hear from your district? Are people, is the shutdown having an impact on people's lives, and are people upset about it?
It is having an impact on people's lives. It is also having a very destructive impact on the way the average American looks at Congress. You know, none of us, Democrat nor Republican, can feel good about now having a 5% record.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't take any kind of glee out of the fact that the Republicans are pointed to as being responsible for this more than Democrats, because we're both seen as being responsible for this. So it does have an impact. I mean, whether it's, you know, your wedding that you were going to have at Yosemite, or the fact that you're concerned about your mortgage payment because your veterans benefits after the 1st of November won't be going out. Those are real life consequences of this for irresponsible actions. Now, holding us hostage is not going to pay in the long run for anyone. So we've got to resolve that.
And I was just thinking, so that 5%, that's got to be just friends and family, right? I mean, who's left?
I don't even know if it's family anymore. I know my family is pretty tired of the fact that I haven't been home.
Yeah, you just wonder who those you do wonder who the 5%. And I showed earlier a poll, 23% of Americans, only 23% of Americans now, 28% of Americans now have a favorable opinion of the Republican Party. Only 28%.
It's only 38% for the Democrats.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's nothing to be gleeful about.
Right. Both parties really, but it's not just the political parties, it's really government, right? And the Congress, right, that people have just kind of fed up with, which is not good in the long run.
And, you know, the premise that the Republicans were saying that you can shut down the government and it will be business as usual has already proven to be not the case, because there's all these bills that we've been rushing through. Now, the other interesting thing is that we passed a bill, unanimous in the House, that said all of you who are furloughed are going to be paid. So my expectation then is if they're all going to be paid, then they should come back to work, because we shouldn't be giving them paid vacations, nor do they want paid vacations.
Absolutely. By the way, my son is one of those, okay? He's surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why should you be paying him? Why should I be paying him to go surfing? I mean, it's just, it's insane. I'm telling you. I love what you said about the gym. Shut it down and change the key or de-key it or whatever it is.
Rekey it.
Rekey it. Congresswoman, great to see you this morning. Now we'll let you go so you can go down the street here and solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Jackie Speier. I'll be back and tell you what the president's up to today. More important meetings at the White House.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, here we are closing down on hour number 2, getting ready for hour number 3. We know we're going to lose you on Free Speech TV. So come on around. Come on and join us on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. We'll get away from shutdown talk and debt ceiling talk to talk baseball at the top of the hour with Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports. And then Alahi Izadi from National Journal will join us to talk the politics of the day, how the shutdown is playing.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. The president today and the vice president will get the daily briefing at 10:30. At noon, they meet with Treasury Secretary Jack Lew, of course, to talk about the latest on the debt ceiling and the shutdown. And then House Democrats, as Jackie Speier just told us, were there at the White House yesterday. Senate Democrats will join with the president and the vice president this afternoon at 1:45, and at 4:35, the president and vice president will meet with a delegation of House Republican members. Our briefing with Jay Carney today at noon.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Janet Yellen, officially now nominated, the next head of the Fed. President Obama doing that yesterday, saluting her as not only the first woman to get the job, but maybe the most qualified person to head the Fed ever. Hey, good morning, everybody. With that bit of good news, we start out here. Hour number 3 of the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning, October 10. Great to see you. Great to see you. Thank you for climbing on board the Bill Press bus as we head out across the nation here from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Our first stop, all of your local progressive talk radio stations around the country, where we are proud to be your morning lineup. Start the day on in the liberal way. And then we're also coming to you this hour with our video stream. Those of you who prefer to watch and see what everybody looks like on your computer, if that's easier for you, you can go to youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. And more of you are doing so, and we welcome you on the radio and welcome you on the video stream. To our team here, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hi there.
As always, hello.
Good morning.
It's a little rainy outside today.
It is.
I don't know if you noticed.
That. Alicia Cruz running around. There she is. Got the phone. She's ready now to take your phone calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding has the video stream looking good. It is raining outside. And if you don't believe it, just look at Travis Waldron.
He's our walking weather report.
He's our walking weather report.
Yes.
Coming in, I mean, your sweater there is soaked. Your head is soaked.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I had an umbrella, and it just kind of didn't
Blew
work.
up?
Yeah, it just kind of flipped out inside out. The rod broke.
Man.
I blame the shutdown.
Yeah, me too.
Government shutdown.
Right.
So this
It's all
is
John
Congress.
Boehner's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you were a Republican, you'd blame it on Obama. A Democrat, we blame it on John Boehner.
There you go.
Right. Well, thank you for coming in through. So it's not just threatening rain anymore. It's,
No, it's raining. It's threatening to your ability to stay dry.
To be out
It's
there.
raining very hard.
Exactly. All right. So yesterday, maybe the most unusual exchange, one of the most unusual exchanges, let's not exaggerate, that we've ever heard at any congressional hearing. Darrell Issa held another hearing yesterday. And that means it's either Benghazi or the IRS. Flip a coin. It's one or the other. Yesterday was the IRS's turn. He brought in this woman, Sarah Ingram. Republicans have accused her of everything from child abuse to being a witch. Actually, somebody called her that. So Jerry Conley, Democrat from Northern Virginia, wants to set the record straight.
Now let's get a few things out of the way here, Miss Ingram. Have you ever read The Crucible by Arthur Miller?
I've not read it. I've seen it performed.
And you know what it's about?
Yes, sir.
What is it about?
Well, I'm from New England, so I'm familiar with the original story.
So it's about?
It's about the Salem witch trial.
All right. So let's get you. You're under oath. Have you been consorting with the devil?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Are reports that you can fly accurate?
Greatly exaggerated, sir.
Have you been involved in any way in trying to pervert our youth in Salem or anywhere else?
I certainly hope not, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
There it is. All right, so she's not a witch, and she hasn't been tried to undermine her.
It's like that old Dana Carvey church lady skit. Could it be Satan?
It was really a funny exchange. Are you or are you not a witch? All right. Reminds me of Christine.
In the words of Christine O'Donnell.
Christine O'Donnell. No, I am not a witch. All right. So Travis here from Think Progress Sports. A lot of good sports stuff going on. Can't wait to get into it with all of it with you. But first, Dan, with the big headlines here.
The Full Court Press.
Other headlines making news on this Thursday. A man was spotted mowing the lawn around the Lincoln Memorial yesterday. Washington radio station WNEW caught up with this guy, Chris Cox of South Carolina. Said he felt obligated to help out during the shutdown because Park Service employees were not mowing the lawn ahead of the Million Vet March coming this weekend. He also had a chainsaw to cut down dead tree branches along the National Mall. Park police actually let him work for a little while since he was no harm to anyone, but then they asked him to stop, and he complied.
By the way, he mowed the lawn holding an American flag.
No, the South Carolina flag.
Oh,
yes, it was a South Carolina flag that he was holding.
Amazing.
That's so funny. He drove all the way up here from South Carolina. I got some garden work he could do.
While you're in town, Mr. Cox.
His wife probably can't get him to cut the grass at home. He drives all the way here.
I'm going to show her. I'm going to cut that dang grass, man.
Another day, another gay marriage. U.S. soccer star Abby Wambach married her longtime partner last weekend in Hawaii, which actually currently only recognizes civil unions. The Olympic gold medalist married Sarah Huffman, who was also a soccer player. They played together on a team in New York last season.
So they were married, but not not official.
It's a union there, and maybe they'll get it ratified somewhere else. But they wanted to have the ceremony in Hawaii.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Actually, I own very few sports jerseys. I actually own an Abby Wambach jersey.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Starbucks is jumping onto the government shutdown helping out bandwagon. The coffee chain wants people to pay it forward during the shutdown. Anyone who comes in and buys someone else a cup of coffee will get a one free for themselves. CEO Howard Schultz says he actually really hopes that lawmakers come in to buy the coffee so they can buy one of their colleagues a cup of coffee, sit down, and talk about the shutdown.
I'm sorry. I know it's a nice gesture, but Starbucks is just trying to exploit the shutdown for a little publicity.
Yeah.
I think,
Yep.
But I'll tell you, Travis, after the show, I'll take you to Starbucks across the street. And,
All right.
yeah.
Sounds good.
I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
We want to buy him a poncho while you're at it.
That's right. Yeah. That offer's only good if the rain has stopped.
All right.
By the way, because I have an umbrella, but it's not big enough for two of us. Travis, what's going on? Baseball. I mean, what happened to the Pirates last night? Huh? Sad.
Just all good things have to come to an end sometime.
but-
And they had a great year. They're set up for the future. That's the best thing about this Pirates team is they're young. They still have Francisco Liriano coming back next year, who's their best pitcher, and Garrett Cole, who pitched last night, this was his first year. They still have McCutchen and Starling Marte. The Pirates are in good shape.
You know what sucks, though? That sounds like every Washington Nationals fan's argument last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, baseball's tough because it's the most exclusive postseason in sports, and when you play 162 games. And the race comes down to one or two.
Yeah.
It can come down. You can look back to June or April or any time and find one or two games. It's tough. But, in terms of these aren't the Pirates from like 1997 when you're looking to the next year and thinking,
yeah, right.
Who am I going to watch that's going to be playing really well for the Yankees next year?
But you have to say, in terms of for Major League Baseball, the playoffs have really been pretty impressive, right? I mean, you got a good lineup, good ball, good action.
I think so. There were people fretting at the beginning about not having the Yankees there, not having some of the biggest stars like the Nationals. I mean, because Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg are two of the biggest young names in the game. But you have L.A. and you have Boston, and those are two historic franchises that people are going to watch, whether they want to watch them to cheer for them or cheer against them.
Hate watch.
St. Louis is in there. Everybody loves or hates St. Louis. I'm kind of tired of seeing St. Louis win every single year, but
So
they have a good recipe
because they knocked the Nats out last year, which we've never forgiven them for.
Right, and I think it's and then if I'd like to see Oakland win tonight.
Yeah,
and kind of have that Moneyball run and see them have Oakland go up against Boston. You'd have one of the richest teams against one of the poorest teams, and that'd be another interesting storyline.
I think the interesting thing, one of the more interesting things that's sort of emerging from here is the money being spent on the baseball teams because the Dodgers,
right?
I mean, they spent crazy money to put this team together. Now here they are making a playoff run that nobody really thought was possible a couple years ago.
Right. If you look at it, that's what's interesting about this playoffs. You had St. Louis and Pittsburgh, which I think was like at the beginning of the year, you had like the 11th payroll against the 28th or 29th.
Right.
You had Atlanta and L.A. L.A. was first. I think the Braves were 19th or 20th.
Wow.
You had Boston against Tampa, which is number 3 against number 28
near the
or
bottom,
29.
yeah.
And then you have Detroit against Oakland, which was like number 5 against number 27 or 28. And so far, all of the money teams have won, which is another reason I'd kind of like to see Oakland win.
To see Oakland win, yeah. Travis Waldron with us from Think Progress. Join in at any time at 866-55-PRESS. You have been writing about this Frontline documentary, and we've talked about this issue before when you've been in the studio with us. This League of Denial, it's called. Learn anything new from it about the whole problem with head injuries and?
I'm not sure, for the people who have been following this, I'm not sure in the documentary there was a ton new. It was kind of shocking to see it all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in terms of, what I hadn't realized, I guess, was the depth to which the NFL went to war against the doctors. That had never been... I mean, it's been detailed, but never so powerfully as it was in the video.
So the doctors were saying, we got a real problem here.
Right,
the NFL was just saying, shut up.
Right. There was this one doctor, Bennett Amalu, who is Nigerian-born, wasn't a football fan, super educated guy, and was working outside Pittsburgh in Allegheny County. And he got the body of Mike Webster, the Pittsburgh Hall of Fame offensive lineman, and for whatever reason decided to examine his brain and found this chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Oh, okay.
And then said, you have a problem. And he wrote a paper. And then he got another player and he looked at it. And the NFL basically just destroyed his career. He ended up leaving Pittsburgh for Northern California, a small town in Northern California. And he even says in the film, I wish I had never come across Mike Webster, because CTE drug him into politics of football, of brain injury, of science. And then later when Junior Seau kills himself, he was in Northern California. He tried to get the brain. He got consent from Junior Seau's son, and the NFL called Junior Seau's son and trashed him.
Whoa.
And kept him from getting the brain.
Whoa. Wow.
And so
What
this
a powerful story.
guy who's not a football fan,
oh man,
just wants to do scientific research, was basically dragged through the mud.
So this deal that they signed,
the settlement?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. I think there's a lot of indications right now that the settlement won't be sufficient for the players. That's hard to tell. I think we'll find that out going forward. I think, again, one of the most painful things about the settlement is that we're not going to find out what they knew and when they knew it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's hard. I've written.
And it was criticized at the time, which wasn't that long ago, by a lot of people for that reason, that it kind of lets the NFL off the hook for relatively little money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it $765 million is not a ton. In terms of,
what is it? What was it, over 17 years?
Something
like
I
that?
I think so.
Yeah.
The exact time frame. They have to pay out half of it in the next 3. But
Right.
After that,
and then
I think after that they have 17 more years to pay out the other half.
Yeah.
And it's hard because if the players get assistance that they need, then that's a good thing. If it's not enough, that's a bad thing. And if they're not getting enough and we're not finding out what the NFL knew, when it knew it, how far it went to cover it up, well, then you're in just total tragedy.
So we're talking baseball, we're talking football, head injuries. If we're talking football, Travis, do you think the Washington football team is ever going to have a new name?
I do. I think it's inevitable.
Do you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love The Onion, by the way. Had a great take on it. So, this whole argument is over not the Washington Redskins should change their name. And The Onion said they finally changed their name to the D.C. Redskins.
Well, I'm not even sure Snyder would go along with that. But
Probably
he
not.
seems to be now you have the President of the United States weighing in, on top of the NFL Commissioner, on top of sports writer says Christine Brennan. And so what's it going to take to crack Dan Snyder?
Money. And I think the money side comes
Meaning
in.
people will have to stay away from the games, which
No,
they're not going to do.
not even that. Not
No?
even that. No, I think where it comes in is Roger Goodell is going to see that this is hurting him and that this is hurting the league. And I think where that comes in is, so they're in court right now. They're in a federal trademark court over this name. About whether or not you can trademark racist terms. There's also legislation in Congress about that, which, given Congress right now, it's not going anywhere.
Sure.
But if they lose that trademark, they're in trouble, and the whole league is in trouble because they share merchandising sales and revenues.
Yeah.
So if you can't protect the Redskins trademark, the whole league suffers. And if that's the case, Roger Goodell and the NFL have no choice but to say, hey, you've got to get rid of this.
That's what I think is going to be the most interesting storyline to come out of this, is how Roger Goodell and the NFL balances Dan Snyder, who is again yesterday doubled down in another letter, said we're not changing the name.
God, it reminds me so much of the government shutdown. Travis Waldron is here from Think Progress Sports, 866-55-PRESS. Sports fans, join the conversation here on a Thursday morning.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR TV. This is The Bill Press Show. us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
And we'll get back into the shutdown madness with Alahe Izzadeh from the National Journal coming up in the... did I get that name anywhere
Alahe
close?
Izzadeh. My good friend Alahe Izzadeh.
All right. Alahe Izzadeh.
You got it.
In the next segment, Travis Waldron's a little easier. Here he's in studio with us right now from Think Progress Sports. It's thinkprogress.org. Travis, we've seen the launch last Tuesday, October 1, Tuesday, a week ago, of the Affordable Care Act health exchanges, Obamacare, and as part of the effort to get the word out, especially to young people, that they can now qualify to buy health insurance on their own, the administration has been using a lot of sports figures and owners and players and everything. That's kind of an unusual twist, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's
effective. Do you think?
I think it's effective. Mitt Romney did it with the Boston Red Sox when he passed his health care law.
Whoa!
So I think it's kind of interesting. And HHS apparently does this every year with different health initiatives, with flu shots and different programs. So I think
noticed it before, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the thing. It's almost you don't even notice it. So they're up in Pittsburgh today, I think, with the Steelers. They're going to do some stuff with the Ravens. I think it's a good idea. It's a way to reach people, and I don't think Republicans or conservative voters are going to hate it that much that they quit watching their favorite football team.
Well, but are they just picking teams that like Obama, or they're picking teams that
I think they're trying. I think they're trying all around. I think Pittsburgh is an easy get because of Rooney having worked for the president as the ambassador. And Maryland, obviously, being a pretty Democratic state, makes it a little easier. But I think it's a good strategy. It gets out to a lot of people, and I think it's good for the teams too. It's a way to say, hey, look, we're active members of our community, not just a sports team.
It's a form of public service, and if you do put the politics aside, just to say that everybody and every American and every family deserves decent, basic health care.
Right.
It's hard to argue.
Well, I think the teams can say, look, it's the law.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and help you get into this, and you can play the politics on your own.
You got it. Travis Waldron, thinkprogress.org.
This is the Bill Press Show. streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour now on this Thursday, October 10. It is the Bill Press Show, and we are coming to you live from our nation's capital. We are brought to you today by AFSCME, the good men and women of AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country under President Lee Saunders. Making America happen, you bet. You can find out more about their good work at their website, afscme.org, AFSCME.org. We are now into day number 10 of the government shutdown. We are 1 week away from things getting worse with failure to raise the debt ceiling when we meet that October 17 deadline. Meetings yesterday at the White House. Is there any hope in sight? Well, Elahe Izadi covers the Congress and all these important issues for the National Journal. She's in studio with us this morning. It's nice to see you.
Likewise.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning to you.
I heard you snuck in when I was out of town.
Yeah.
Here, so.
Yeah, he let me in.
Was that right?
Yeah.
I made some very questionable choices while you were gone.
That was
I was one of them, apparently.
I guess so. All right. That was just a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
You know, this is
Hey, you're back, so it worked.
Yeah.
All right. So I've seen several reports this morning that it looks like Republicans are trying to find a way to end this thing. Do you sense that?
Yeah.
Has it kind of run its course, and maybe they're looking for a way out?
Yeah, I mean, what it sounds like is there's a plan emerging, perhaps to extend the debt ceiling for a 4 to 6 week period.
Mhm.
That would also include turning the government back on in exchange for some sort of promise, IOU, that there would be negotiations of some sort around the budget. And what's really interesting in this is that the conversation has really moved off of Obamacare, off of the Affordable Care Act. We're not really hearing too much about that. I mean, if you ask members about the debt ceiling, Republican members, they'll talk about entitlement reform or some sort of cuts somewhere else. But if you ask, does Obamacare have to be part of that conversation? They say not necessarily. So I think that we're moving away from that. And maybe part of that is also that the Affordable Care Act, the exchanges have been open and there have been all these problems. I mean, if we hadn't gotten to this point and they had allowed that to sort of unroll and unravel as it did, that probably would have been good for them anyway, to see that, to point to those problems and show that. But yeah, so that's what's most interesting, is that we're really not hearing the Affordable Care Act as part of that conversation. That being said, House Republicans are meeting with the president today, as are Senate Democrats.
A few of them, I don't know.
About
how many,
20, I think. Yeah. Some leadership, committee chairs. All of them were invited. The leadership team decided to bring only about 20. So we'll see what happens after that. And this is tentative, this 6-week deal. This is also something President Obama yesterday signaled that he would be okay with a temporary increase. Obviously, they would prefer a longer term one. There's talk in the Senate about a year one. So we might be coming toward the end of this, but the way the Congress operates, usually we push up against deadlines pretty frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
They kind of love to do it that way. So let me understand. I just want to be sure that I understand the elements again.
Yeah.
So far as you believe that it might roll out now would be extending the debt ceiling for, let's say, 6 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Reopening, no strings attached, meaning...
Well, no Obamacare strings attached.
Okay. Reopening the government, no Obamacare strings attached. And the face-saving device for Republicans would be negotiations to begin on a certain list of items, correct?
Yeah. And
now, the president has said, I mean, I understand Republicans can say, look, we got this, we got him to agree to talk about da-da-da-da-da. But the president, I was there the other day when he said, I'm willing to talk about anything. Just reopen the government.
Well, yeah. And
so it's not much of a concession, is it?
Well, that's been the line from Democrats this entire time, that we're willing to sit down and talk about anything, but the government has to be turned back on. And Republicans have countered that in order to do that, we need to talk about what that would entail. So these White House meetings might be a mechanism by which Republicans and Democrats can point to and say, hey, we're having conversations before we decide to go ahead with this plan. That being said, there is a private meeting today with House Republicans, and we'll see what the temperature is of the caucus after that meeting, whether they could go along with a plan like this.
So Boehner is having another caucus meeting today?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yeah.
Right. Is it getting a little tense inside that caucus, or are they holding it together? I mean, some of them must be feeling the heat in the sense that they realize they're losing public opinion on this stand, no?
I mean, my sense about...
Although we haven't heard from Peter King for a while.
Well, my sense about caucus unity is that, for the first time in a long time, you're having very conservative members of the House feeling good, at the very least, about Speaker Boehner. And so in terms of caucus unity, we're not seeing this total disarray, fracturing. When they put these mini CRs on the floor, you see unity around them, even if you have those 10 to 15 members who would prefer to just pass a clean, full CR. They're still all voting together. Mm-hmm. So I think that's indicative of where that caucus stands for now, that's how they sit. So we'll see if this continues on for a week. And with the debt ceiling, a number of Republicans have said that we don't want to default. They're also
starting with John Boehner.
Yes. Now, there are a number of Republicans, the National Journal reported this on Sunday night, that don't believe that the debt ceiling means that we will default. They don't see that as being equal. So that could be dangerous as well if you are concerned about not raising the debt ceiling by
if they're going to have this deal, if we want to call it that, as you outlined it, October 17 is still a week away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to happen before October 17, or do you think that they'll take it right to the brink?
There's talk.
I mean, they could do it today, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of potentially a vote this week on something in the House, and there are some House Republicans who do not want attached to this vote something that would kill it in the Senate. They don't want another ping pong back and forth between the House and the Senate. So the House is going to be here on Saturday as well, and they're slated to vote on something. So we'll see.
Yet again this weekend, right?
Yeah.
This is revolutionary. 2 weekends in a row, the House has been in town.
Yeah. All the poor reporters get to stick around, work 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah. And all these poor guys, I mean, not that you feel sorry for them. They're getting paid, but, they're stuck in Washington doing nothing.
I think some of them have been going back and coming.
Oh, really?
Because they'll recess after Saturday, and then they're not back in until Monday late in the day.
Got it. Right.
So I think some of them have been coming back and forth.
Now, you have written about this one particular article I saw, protecting those who stopped at the paychecks. That's particularly talking about the Capitol Police, right? I mean, they're on the job, and they're on the job as a big way, in as we saw last week.
Yeah.
And they're not getting paid. I could not believe after that shooting occurred, I figured the next day Republicans would come out and say, now we understand what a dumb thing it was, right, to furlough all these employees and not pay them, and have these people working to protect us without getting paid. But nothing changed. Nothing changed.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you could argue that Republicans have put forward mini CRs to reopen essential parts of the government.
Or that.
Yes.
But
yeah, with the Capitol Police, I mean, it kind of can cut both ways, though, because this is a special police force, and they are among the highest paid police forces in this area. I mean, Secret Service and some other agencies, the starting pay and benefits are comparable. But I wonder about that if they did come out and say, hey, we need to allow the Capitol Police to go forward and pay them, even though they're all deemed essential, and they will get paid at the end of the shutdown. We should pay them now. I mean, you could message against that and say, oh, you want to just pay people who are protecting you in your life? What about national parks, or what about X, Y, or Z? So, but it's interesting. My colleague Ben Terrace and I, we talked with a bunch of police officers, and the Capitol has just been a ghost town this week. And so you have these guys all on duty around there. And then especially after the shooting, I mean, our lead talks about how sort of like war, like moments of like tedious moments punctuated by moments of terror. And that's really what their job entails. So it's just this irony, though, right? Where your job is
Totally.
to protect the lives of those responsible for you not getting your paycheck. And, you know, lawmakers tend to get chummy with these guys.
Yeah.
And we had some saying, oh, yeah, it's extra right now. Like, they're really hamming it up right now.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah. And some of them,
So did the police officers resent it? They must. Some of them, at least.
Yeah, and I think they kind of know the deal. They've been around there long enough to see how this place operates. But at the same time, it can get, if this drags on for another week, say, or I had some say, you know, if this goes longer than the last shutdown, which was a total of 26 days, then I know guys who can't handle that. You know, people are calling banks to talk about mortgage payments. They're dipping into their savings.
I mean, the whole idea that they may get paid down the road somewhere, but in the meantime, they've got bills they have to meet, right?
Yeah,
Like the
exactly.
mortgage payment comes up at the end of the month. They can't tell the bank, well, we're going to get paid one of these days.
Yeah,
and I'll pay you one of these days. It doesn't work that way in the real world.
Yeah, and some of their spouses are also police officers or work for the federal government who maybe are on furlough and not. So this isn't just one person. I mean, it can have a ripple effect within a family. So.
I don't know. I've never seen government look worse. No wonder the polls show. 5% approval rating now, huh?
Yeah.
Who are those 5%? Elahi Azadi is here in studio with us from the National Journal. You out there, we always ask you, what's the real impact of the shutdown for you, on you, your family, your community? Let's hear from you at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
we go. Here we go. 11 minutes now before the top of the hour. Elahi Izadi in studio with us from the National Journal. It's nationaljournal.com. You know, we haven't heard much from Paul Ryan. If he is the budget chair and he's their fiscal guru and he's our former vice presidential candidate, why did he disappear? What's going on?
Yeah, my colleague Billy House actually wrote a story this week asking why is Paul Ryan so quiet. And then we also saw this week that Paul Ryan penned the editorial
In
that
the
ran.
op-ed.
Yeah, the
Wall Street
op-ed.
Journal.
Yeah, in the Wall Street Journal that kind of laid out this argument that we can, now is the time to talk about modest, I wrote down the language, modest reforms to entitlements in the tax code.
Did not mention Obamacare.
Did not mention Obamacare. Very notable. So
Yeah.
I think, behind the scenes, trying to work on something that goes toward works toward those ends. And maybe it's been to his benefit to not really be loud and out there. And honestly, ever since the campaign, we haven't really seen him be very out there and loud on a number of issues. I mean, on immigration reform, behind the scenes, he was pushing his House colleagues to do something on immigration reform, and he was an advocate of that and pushing for something to happen in the House. But he wasn't, going out there and holding rallies and giving big speeches about it. He was talking to lawmakers one-on-one. So he is that kind of a guy and a policy wonk. So it is interesting why he is so quiet.
I think he's keeping his powder dry for 2016, too.
Yeah,
We're
maybe.
going to jump out to Madison, Wisconsin on 92.1 The Mic. Hello, Steve. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm an accountant in a factory, and we make parts for agricultural equipment.
Uh-huh.
And every time there's political unrest, whether it be local or national, I see orders get pushed out, I see our revenue drop, and people get laid off.
And do you see that happening now?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. All right. Steve, got the point. That is a ripple effect around the country, Elahi, right? In the business world. I mean, this, again, uncertainty. John Boehner always says, we need certainty for the business community. Well, boy, they've created a lot of uncertainty, haven't they?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just federal employees who are affected by this. It's, the person who owns the restaurant, the coffee shop near the national park who's being affected by this. But it's interesting you bring up business certainty because you have business groups coming out and saying this shutdown is bad and please don't play around with the debt ceiling. But at the same time, some of these very business groups and entities have been donating money to some of the lawmakers who have kind of put us on this path to this position. So I did a piece earlier this week looking at, last week business leaders were meeting at the White House. The CEO of Goldman Sachs was there.
I was there.
Yeah, came out and said, please, we shouldn't be having these policy debates over this. Well, Goldman Sachs was one of the top corporate donors to Senator Ted Cruz. His wife works for Goldman Sachs. And so it's interesting because these businesses are concerned about that. These corporate interests are concerned about that. But they also are concerned about a lot of other things like regulatory, bankruptcy reform and other sorts of regulations. And so where are they going to take their money? They've been donating it by and large to Republicans.
But the interesting question is going to be, after this go-round, right, after Republicans have taken us to the brink, if not over the brink, we've yet to see that, whether the business groups will still support Republican candidates or, maybe more pertinent, might they run some Republican candidates in primaries against some of these Tea Party people who shut down the government?
Yeah, and I think that'll be the thing to watch as far as where that money is going to go. I've read some reporting that some GOP donors are talking about we're going to donate to individual candidates who are more in line with what we want rather than these big groups who kind of funnel money to lots of different candidates.
Had a lead story in the New York Times today. Business groups see their loss of sway over the House GOP, and some of them mull financing primary challenges to the Tea Party. Yeah. Exactly. Elahi, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Thanks for your good work, your good reporting, and your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, come back again. See you, and I'll be back again with today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, you know, there are a lot of crazy people still around, and there are those, for example, who believe that Barack Obama was not born in the United States, still believe that. Those who believe we never landed in the moon, those who believe George Bush and Dick Cheney ordered planes to fly into the World Trade Center. To their numbers, you can now add some Republicans in Congress who claim that the United States can default on its debts on October 17 without doing any serious damage to the economy. If we can't pay all of our bills, they insist, we'll just pay some of them. No problem. Oh, yeah? Try that yourself, right? Pay just a couple of your bills at the end of the month and throw the rest of them away. You know, it won't be long before your credit rating tanks. And so will the credit rating of the United States tank if we don't raise the debt ceiling. It's as simple as that. My parting shot for today, folks. Have a great Thursday. Come back and see us right here again tomorrow morning.
This is The Bill Press Show.